Thank you for joining us today.
Presenters will share ways that you can engage with STEM in the military throughout Arizona. So our presenters today are Petty Officer Schrader. From the Army Educational Outreach Program, we have Carrie Deeleman, who's the STEM Relations Coordinator, and Catherine Lasky with East Cyber Mission Operations Manager. And then also with us today, we have Tony Robinson, Project Director with Discovery Education. Thank you all for joining us today.
My name is Petty Officer Schrader. As stated, I'm the Nuclear Field Coordinator here in Phoenix, which pretty much means that I coordinate all of the nuclear field applicants for the Navy, for anybody that joins out of the Arizona and New Mexico region, all the way to El Paso. And I've been out to the fleet and I've actually done the job, and I came back here to help try to assist everybody else to kind of do that. So next. So just a little bit about myself. Joined the Navy to get out of my town, like a lot of other people. I've been in for about 8.5 years now. My official job in the Navy is an electronics technician nuclear, which essentially means I work with electronics that are involved with the nuclear power plants. I started off going to boot camp, as everybody in the Navy does, in Chicago. I went to my A school, which is essentially the first school where I learned how to do my electronics job in Goose Creek, South Carolina, followed by power school, where I learned all about nuclear power. Same schoolhouse in Goose Creek, South Carolina. I opted to go up to New York, to Ballston Spa, New York, about 30 minutes north of Albany, to finish out my training before I was stationed on the USS Jefferson City out of Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Spent about 4.5 years there, had 2 kids there. It was an awesome experience. And like I said, came back here to help get other people to kind of see how there's an opportunity in order to join the STEM field through the Navy. So next. So this is just some highlights that are why nuclear power is so amazing. Obviously, it's I'm a little biased here. I won't spend too much time on it, but essentially, it doesn't rely on any environmental factors and is just as green as wind energy. Next. So we essentially built a nuclear Navy because it was pretty much an opportune time. Using batteries in the 1950s to power an entire submarine wasn't that great of an opportunity for us. So nuclear power definitely helped us stay cleaner and quieter and submerged a lot longer. And then that eventually advanced into the aircraft carrier field as well. All right, go ahead and go next. So the nuclear power program, I know a lot of people have some reservations about nuclear power, but ours has been operating since 1954, and we have 0 nuclear incidents, and our plants are primarily operated by 20 to 24-year-olds straight out of high school or college. So that's a pretty good track record for and evidence of our training program that we go through and how well everything is designed and how well we're trained. So next. Like I said, we do have aircraft carriers and submarines that are both nuclear powered. So if you are nuclear, so if you do join the nuclear program, then you would be in one of those 2 fields. Next. These are just all the places that you can be stationed as a part of the nuclear power program. Next. Kind of get into the meat and potatoes here. All right, so these are the 3 different types of jobs that you can get in the nuclear power program. You can either be a mechanic, an electrician, or an electronics technician. Essentially just varies what parts and pieces of the nuclear power plant that you're working on. We all kind of specialize in our own thing. And I saw in the chat that President Carter was a nuke. That is absolutely correct. So a little fun fact there. All right, next. All right, so these are the 3 different types of schools that you go through as a nuke. Essentially, the Navy doesn't assume that you know anything about nuclear power or whatever field that you're in. So they actually do all of the training from the ground up, which is pretty awesome. So you're essentially a professional student in the STEM field prior to pretty much the guaranteed 4-year job by the time you get out into the field. All right, next. All right, so this is kind of the incentives that they offer for you essentially qualifying and deciding to join the nuclear power program. You do get up to a $48,000 bonus. High school seniors straight out of high school without any sort of other qualifications automatically get 28,000. So that would be a sign-on bonus for you just for qualifying and choosing to do the job. Up to $100,000 re-enlistment bonus. You enlist as an E3, which essentially means that you get 2 promotions just for the job that you picked. You also get another promotion about 6 months after being in the Navy, just for passing your school. And then you also get, due to that year and a half of your being in school, you have about 70-ish college credits that you can maximize to get a college degree. All right, and next. Yep, this is just college credits. Next. And then average salaries, plenty of non-nuclear jobs actually are looking for Navy nukes to work in the tech fields and mechanical fields and electrical fields, pretty much everything. So that is, you're definitely not limited on where you, onto nuclear power. You're not bottlenecking yourself in this industry. Next. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. And then thank you guys very much.
Perfect, thanks. I love that you put in the career information and kind of just really elucidating what it is.
Okay, I'm Catherine Lasky. I'm the Cyber Mission Operations Manager, and I have my coworker Carrie here with me, who is our STEM Relations Coordinator for eCyber Mission. eCyber Mission is a free online STEM competition for students in grades 6 to 9. We are part of the Army Educational Outreach Program, or AEOP. It is a federal grant funded program sponsored by the Army. AEOP has many other competitions, summer enrichment programs, scholarships, fellowships, all the way from K to undergrad in college. So we invite you to visit our website for AEOP, usaeop.com, I believe, if you're interested in any other programs. But I'm here today to talk about eCyber Mission. Again, we're a STEM competition across the nation for students in grades 6 to 9. Students form teams of 2 to 4 students to either investigate a problem with science or solve with engineering. The students pick a problem in their local community that is important to them, and they do their project about it. And everything is done online through our website. Next slide, please. So how our competition works is, again, as our students create a team along with a team advisor. A team advisor can be a teacher, it can be a parent, it can be a home educator, it can be a youth program director or leader or any person of that nature. Again, they identify the problem in their community and they explore either with science or solve with engineering, and then they share their findings online with us, and they can win prizes. We have savings bonds, our prizes. Next slide, please. So our competition timeline of registration opens in August, and it goes all the way through early January. We do have early registration. It actually happens to be next Tuesday, November 23rd. And for any students who are registered by that deadline, they receive a free STEM kit. After registration closes, our students are beginning and working on their projects all the way through from the beginning of school to beginning of March. This year, our deadline is March 2nd. After the next slide, please. So, and to kind of describe a little bit about our timeline for our competition, after our projects are submitted on March 2nd, they are judged across the country, including DoDEA schools overseas for military children. So our military children overseas at those Department of Defense schools can participate as well in our competition. They are judged virtually by our team of volunteers who, again, are across the nation online. Each mission folder, as we call their projects, receives 3 comments. So it's judged 3 times. So we're always looking for volunteers as well. Volunteering to judge a mission folder is a great way to get other experience. If you are interested in maybe putting a team together for next year, you get a behind the scenes look at what mission folders look like. From there, 60 are selected for our regional judging event, and then 20 of those to our national judging and educational event, which is a week-long event, typically in DC. Again, with COVID, we've been virtual the last 2 years. This year, we're planning in person, but again, we can't say either way at this moment. We'll decide a little bit closer to that deadline. It's very easy for students to register. They just go to our website, ecybermission.com, upper right-hand corner of the screen, register as a student or as a team advisor if you're a team advisor, and then they just fill out the simple questionnaires. We do have some questions that parents or guardians need to answer, of course, since these are children. Next slide, please. And again, the team registration deadline is January 12th, or our early registration, which is November 23rd. If we also have our website here, ecybermission.com/register. If anyone has any questions, they can call Mission Control at 1-866-GO-CYBER, or email us at missioncontrol@ecybermission.com, or Carrie at cdealman@ecybermission.com. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, I should say. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to speak with so many esteemed people here today. I work with Discovery Education, which is a K-12 digital platform. We offer resources for schools that teachers and students can use to explore careers, to explore academic topics. And so really what I'm here today is just to talk a little bit about some of the resources that we have in our platform that are related to STEM and to the military and careers in the military. And so some of you may be aware of Discovery Education and the fact that there is a partnership with the Arizona Department of Education to bring these resources to all charter and public schools in the state at no expense to schools. So I just want you to know that it's out here. We have wonderful resources to support teaching and learning. And I have just a snippet of a video that I thought would give you just an example of the kinds of resources we have on the platform that relate to STEM in the military. So take a look.
I'm Lieutenant Commander Sarah Abbott, call sign Killface, and I'm an F-18 pilot with the Navy. I decided to go to the Naval Academy because I wanted to serve in the Navy and serve my country and do something more with my college experience. And while I was there, I learned a lot more about aviation and got to do some summer internships with aviation squadrons. A typical day for a pilot, we'll go to the Paraloft, which is where we get dressed for flight. After that, we'll walk up onto the flight deck and get to our aircraft. And when we get to our aircraft, that's where our plane captain meets us, and they greet us and they show us all of the pins that they've pulled from the aircraft. They'll tell us how they've gotten the aircraft ready, and then I will conduct my own walk around the aircraft. I will climb up the ladder. So I strap into the ejection seat in several different places. We all wait on the aircraft carrier, so we can't start up until the air boss calls away the start from the tower.
And that, again, is just a clip of one of the many videos we have that take students through career awareness, career exploration, and then provides information on what they need for career preparation. So I look forward to sharing any of the resources with you if you're interested. And again, thank you for having me here today to talk about what we're doing at Discovery Education.
Perfect. Well, thanks again for being here. Actually, we're going to go now. We can go on to questions. And so I'd encourage everybody to please put questions in the chat if you can. That'd be great for the conversation. The first, first going out to, Petty Officer Schrader, just in terms of what do you think are the best strategies to communicate the breadth of STEM that impacts the military, in general? I mean, it's my understanding it's almost half of all jobs are, that we have in the US are somehow affiliated with the military, and people don't even know that. But what are your thoughts and ways to make that happen?
You're muted, Chaz.
Sorry, forgot to unmute myself. But yeah, so I mean, in the military, I'm one of many STEM jobs just in the Navy alone, let alone the Air Force and Army. But yeah, so there's essentially the opportunity for anybody that maybe didn't have an opportunity or doesn't want to go to college and get a degree, as well as the officer programs that do allow for that, as well as the scholarships and opportunities for the different academies and the different branches. But STEM is essentially converting to run the military now. We have cryptology programs, information technology programs, hospital corpsmen, essentially hospital nursing, as well as different officer programs to essentially get your become a doctor or a registered nurse. And STEM in general is just kind of leading the way now. And as far as the enlisted side goes, with those enlisted opportunities, allows, I see, or a veterinarian. Absolutely, that is also not a very well-known program to become a veterinarian. But yeah, I mean, as an enlisted person myself, obviously I'm a little biased to the entire fact that I didn't have a college education, yet I was still able to get the training and the education and the job experience in a field that I never would have found myself in otherwise, at least with the opportunities that was available to me in my area way back when I actually decided to join the Navy. So great question. Thank you.
And kind of going over to Tony with Discovery Education, like what strategies has Discovery found effective in terms of really communicating the STEM behind military?
I think it's really doing interviews with people who have been in the field. That's been very effective for us to actually have firsthand narratives of what their experience was like, what their training was like, and then what their jobs are like, so that students can get some insight into that. That's been really effective for us. And then partnering with some of our coalition partners. For instance, Boeing is one of our partners. And as you know, Boeing has a lot of former military personnel, so we're able to tap into all of the expertise and the knowledge and the experience that our partners have as well, and then bring that to the platform to share with our students.
And then kind of going with the eCybermission, platform, how does it help? Obviously, cybersecurity is tremendously important of, defense. How is it brought into the cyber mission, and is there ways to connect with, STEM professionals in the military? Kind of how do you bring that in with cyber mission?
Sure. So one thing I forgot to mention, just because I forget about it because of our name is eCybermission. This is our 20th year. So we were started 20 years ago when the Army recognized that we need to grow our STEM professionals, that the key areas is this age, as you all know, to really get students engaged in STEM and excited. So the Army created these programs. And so back 20 years ago, it was all when cyber and all of these concepts were taking off. Well, we have grown in our 20 years. And so it's any STEM project, anything related to STEM. So last year we've had things, apps to help food insecurity and connect grocery stores and reduce food waste with food pantries. We've had activities to help students exercise better, cyberbullying, reducing traffic accidents with deer. So of course, all over, anything like that. One program, part of our program is we have what are called cyber guides, which are actual scientists and engineers. Typically they're from Army labs and organizations. And we have live chats twice a month that these individuals come on, they talk about their careers. How did they get to where they were? What classes did they take? What programming language? What extracurricular activities? Because our students that we found are interested in how did these people get to where they are today? And then we also have Acronis, our mentoring platform, so students can email our cyber guides anytime that they have questions, either about their project, if they're struggling with certain aspects of, an engineering design or a scientific experiment, so they can message as well with our cyber guides.
Perfect. The other thing that I've had the pleasure with our team at SciTech is that we actually have 3 Army veterans as part of our team. And so a lot of you on the line today, a lot of you know Kelly Green. So I kind of wanted to ask in terms of the question about skills that you take from being in the military and how you're applying them, the STEM skills to what you're doing in your profession now. And so I wanted to turn that over to Kelly for that.
Yeah,
I
thanks,
don't know what
Jeremy.
SFC means. I would have said that retired SFC, but I'm not saying it right.
Sergeant first class. It's okay.
Sergeant first
I'm
class.
also enlisted, so woo, petty officer. Yeah, I started when I was 17. So I left right out of high school, out of a small town. And, you know, like Chaz, I had no idea. I mean, I was a babysitter when I was a kid, and in a small rural area, you didn't have a McDonald's to work at or even a grocery store. So for me, joining the military gave me an opportunity to not only explore the world, because I've been to over 30 countries and, you know, 48 of the 50 states. So the idea that not only the life experiences in my 21 years of service, but also the ability to have personal growth, right? My leadership skills, my project management, my communication styles from written and spoken. There's working with a team that's so different from you. I was a rural kid and had never experienced different cultures. So when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that's very important in the service, and especially being a female, right? I had no idea how different it was leaving the farm and joining this huge network. So now, as the Chief Operating Officer at SciTech Institute, utilizing all of those skills is beneficial for, you know, the organization, the network we're trying to build, even getting people to join the call today. I reached out to Chaz and, you know, hey, can you at least share about what the program is? Because not everybody knows it's right here in our backyard. And then they could work at Palo Verde Nuclear Generating Station. Like that's real right here for Arizona, but you could also work all over, as you saw in his presentation. So I would ask if there's any other veterans on the call. First of all, thank you for your service. And big shout out to Chaz. He actually was on my podcast on Tuesday as well. But thank you for your service. But what other soft skills did you learn in the military that have truly transferred into just, even if you're now retired after 20 years or whatever, I feel like the discipline and work ethic, maybe even a little bit of grit is something that's stuck with me in the nonprofit sector. So I'm curious if there's any other vets that wanted to share on the call. You can either raise your hand or unmute.
So hi, this is Marnie. I'm an Air Force veteran. And yes, definitely all of those things, you know, just, you know, get up and do your job. And, you know, it doesn't matter how you're feeling today. Oh yeah, everybody has a bad day, but your job still needs to get done. So, you know, that, you know, I'm a squishy person. So being in an environment where, no, that's not part of how we do things here was actually very growthful for me, and it's definitely served me well. And just the idea of being able to own your own authority, because I came in as a second lieutenant and I was in charge of an office where, you know, so I'm a 20-something-year-old and I'm nominally in charge of this office of senior NCOs, senior non-commissioned officers, who've been doing their job just fine without me for 15 years or more, right? And they've got a heck of a lot more life experience. And yet still, I couldn't hide behind, oh, but I'm the youngest person here. And, you know, there was a sense of talk to your NCOs. They have a lot of knowledge. You know, don't try to bullshit your way through stuff. Pardon my French. That's the military coming out. But you are in charge of this office and you have a responsibility as big, and it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, what their experience is versus your experience. You honor all of that, but ultimately the buck stops with you, and you own that, and just own your own power. Doesn't mean you have to take away somebody else's, but own yours, because it's important that you do that. And that was a big life lesson for me. And I like to think I've been able to translate that successfully into what I do today. Jury's still out.
That's incredible. And no worries about that. I love it. It's nice to have, you know, similar minded individuals on the call, you know, that have had service. So what about Dan? 27 years in the Air Force. Would you like to share?
Let me unmute. I guess I'll turn on my video, but my office is really cluttered, so I've been trying to leave the video off. Yeah, so kind of similar story, I think, to what a lot of other people have said. I worked for a little while after I got out of high school. I did the usual thing of flipping burgers, and I also worked as a printer for a while because it was like, it's what I'd done. I did graphics arts classes, which back then meant printing in high school, and thought, well, I'm going to be a printer, and then I'm realizing, I can't see myself 20 years down the road being a printer. And so it's like, well, I want to go, I kind of like to go back to school, but I can't afford it. So I'll just, see if maybe I can join the Air Force. So joined the Air Force, went to be trained in beautiful Biloxi, Mississippi to learn how to be an electronic warfare systems specialist. So I worked in avionics for most of about a little over 10 years, and worked on F4s to start with in Germany, which was great. I loved being in Germany. It was, nice to live there for 3 years, and then worked back shop for F-16s in Nellis, not quite so good. And then I was in the initial cadre for the B-1 bomber at Dias, so that was kind of exciting to bring that on board. And then got the opportunity to go to a commissioning program. So I actually came to the University of Arizona and finished up a degree in computer engineering, and then went on to work in the B1 program office, because once B1, always B1, you can't get away from it. And then worked in what was called at the time, the Theater Air Command and Control Simulation Facility. So it was this big distributed simulation facility that connected a number of different simulators that we had there in Albuquerque with Army and Air Force units all over the place. And, they even had a visualization center in the Pentagon so they could watch what was happening. And we just ran these really large simulations to test out different tactics and different systems. And so that was a really interesting opportunity. And then I finished up my career in uniform as an ROTC instructor at Utah State. So I did that for 4 years. I was a field training officer 3 times. Very unusual to be a 3-time FTO, but I was, because it was one of those deals where, as I had already submitted my paperwork to retire, I get this call from our regional lead, and he's like, we just had a guy who broke his leg. Can you go be an FTO? I'm like, sure, I'll go, even though I'm, retiring in a month, but okay, yeah, sure. So that was the last thing I did, is I went to be an FTO one last time and then retired. Kind of kicked around doing some other jobs for a while. Then I went back and I was a civil servant working on F-16 and ground systems for communication satellites. And then I left the Air Force for the last time after that. And, currently I'm the, well, actually I'm transitioning to a new role. So I'm now the tools and analytics program specialist with the Microsoft Philanthropy STEELS program. So, I've been able to take a lot of the education and experience I got and put that into work, working for companies like Juniper Networks and Perceptive Pixel, and now Microsoft Philanthropies.
That's incredible. And I think the thing I want to highlight to everybody else on the call, if you haven't worn the uniform, didn't raise your right hand, it's okay. Like we sometimes get focused on our jobs and we talk shop. But the idea is that we all had a career pathway that's unique, and every student that you're engaging with, or even young adult that, maybe they're in their 20s, early 20s, maybe even before they turn 35, don't know what they want to do with their life. The military, all branches have incredible opportunities, on the job training, food, housing, clothing. So it's kind of a nice deal, which is why I stayed for over 20. But the idea that if we can highlight this as a STEM pathway for students who don't necessarily want to go to, a 4-year or a 2-year college, or even, they need to start paying their bills kind of thing. There might be new pathways that we haven't really highlighted in the classroom, and it's changing rapidly. So I wanted to kind of go back over to Chaz and ask, did you take a tour, or you went to an air show, or you did something? What got you excited to join the Navy? What kind of piqued your interest? No, you went to the Navy recruiting station. What did you do?
Yep. No, I just walked in and was like, hey, I want to be an adult and be able to be self-sufficient. And I was working at Best Buy at the time, not a whole lot going for me. And I took the test and they're like, hey, you want to be a nuke? And I was like, I really don't feel like building bombs. not having any idea that the Navy even had a nuclear power program. Then after I went and got trained up on it, I kind of became a nerd about all that stuff, which I mean, I think everybody does a little bit to be good at their job. But I got to take a tour while I was in at Knowles Atomic Project Laboratory, where they do a whole bunch of nuclear testing, which was absolutely phenomenal, and really kind of showed the other side of it as well.
That's incredible. So this is my niece, Brenna. I know we're going to head into breakout so we can continue to share resources. And I think that's the point I wanted to reiterate. Nerds are great. And when you find your space, and the military offers a lot of different spaces for people to interact, you might find the people that are similar to you as well. And it creates this lifelong bond, whether you serve 2 years or 30, that, oh, you're a nuke, I'm a nuke. Oh, President Carter was a nuke. Like, everybody understands those similar experiences. And we really want to highlight that being nerds are great. So if there are any other vets on the call, I would love to hear your thoughts before Amanda sends us to the breakout rooms.
Hi, this is Gwen Daniil. I'm currently still going on my 23rd year in the Army. I guess I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. I work in intelligence in the reserves and for my agency, DIA, and I know Kelly has brought some students to come see the agency and participate. Our agency was very open to that before COVID, before we stopped letting people in the building. But I think this conversation started with soft skills, like what soft skills, because I've taken I was an elementary teacher. I did Intel as, a military person, but always leaned towards the leadership stuff. And I still do that now. I'm back in education in both teaching staff college for majors in the military and working for the international engagements branch for our training department. So I'm not really in Intel anymore, not applying a lot of STEM stuff at the moment, but more like strategery type stuff. But back to those soft skills, it's, what you don't realize joining the military, going through boot camp and, building those problem solving skills is you're getting that critical thinking, that creative thinking, communication experience, and a lot of those times under some sort of time hack, or I don't want to say duress because that sounds bad, but you're getting a lot of that stuff. And I believe that those skills are critical to being a STEM professional, right? Being able to think linearly, being able to think outside the box, being able to come up with solutions to problems that don't already exist. And the military definitely provides that opportunity in everything they do. From, I have a jam in my M16. How do I clear a jam in my M16? There's a linear process there too. You're in an obstacle course, you have to get from point A to point B. It really tests all those assets there of your mind that you need in the real world and that you need in a STEM profession. So another thing that I think it teaches that you don't normally get in just a regular, maybe a little bit of prereqs in college, but big picture, right? How do we fit in? How do I, Gwen Daniil, fit into the rest of the world? How does what I do matter? And, how is that a small puzzle piece of a larger piece, in this global thing we call, the world or life or war or whatever you have it. So I think those skills are critical for life and especially for STEM.
Yes, we loved visiting the Defense Intelligence Agency. The students were just blown away that they had to leave their cell phones at the door. They almost kind of panicked, but so much fun to showcase what's going on there. All right. Anybody else?
Kelly, my name's Pete Lumiansky. I was in the Navy for 27 years, mostly as a helicopter pilot, and have lived in the Valley for the last 32 years. And I've been working on a project having to do with the USS Phoenix, a nuclear powered attack submarine. And I think you're aware of that. And I think Jeremy is as well. And so we've spent really almost 30 years befriending the submarine, the USS Phoenix, a nuclear powered sub, one of 62 we built. Each one cost $1 billion. The Phoenix got decommissioned early, got sent up in waterborne storage for 18 years. And we got 65 tons of its parts, which are sitting over at Papago right now. And we're trying real hard to have a Cold War monument established in Steele Indian School Park downtown. And we've been working on a fundraising campaign for the last 2 years to get about $2 million in order to do that. It's right next to the VA hospital and the Arizona Veteran Home. And it's a great project, and any of you veterans or military supporters, that anybody interested, we would love to have any help that you can think of by way of leads. We tried to work various STEM projects that are relevant that you guys sponsor. Your organization is a fantastic organization. It is so well organized. I wish I had it. Jeremy, you do a tremendous job, I think, for our whole community with what you're doing. So anytime you can think of a STEM project that we could be included in, we'd love to do it. The submarine itself is probably the most complicated machine we've ever built. And it is directly related to all things STEM. Everybody aboard a submarine is a STEM person in one way or another. So a submarine is a perfect example of where we can use STEM skills. Anyway, I'm happy to be part of your group from time to
I'm
time.
happy you're here. I know when you showed us the memorial last year, the monument, I was like, wow, that's incredible what you've, the work that your team has put into getting that all set up. And, so if anybody is interested, I know we've got a lot of Navy on here, Chaz, you could maybe put in a good word.
And whoever put that chat about beat Navy, go Army, beat Navy, he had it wrong. It's exactly reversed. So
That was me.
Put that on the chat.
Go Army. But I see you also have, I think Dr. Fretz is also on a good buddy of mine from Michigan. He was a commander in the Navy too. So it's interesting how we're the desert, but there a lot of Navy people are connected here. So, all right. Well, I would love to take a few minutes to be able to be in the breakout rooms, have you share resources, maybe even chat just a little bit more. So Amanda's going to open those rooms. But again, to all of my fellow veterans, thank you so much for your service. We have dedicated November to be Military and STEM Month. So any highlights you want to give, if you want to show us your enlistment photos, I showed Chaz, I looked like I was 12 when I joined. But yeah, if you want to send over any highlights, we'd love to feature you on a military blog on our website and give a little shout out. So thank you all for being here today. And to all of our presenters, thank you for sharing the resources. I think it's so important that the students know there's a lot of opportunities out there. You just have to, maybe be nudged or tell the parents that not every day is war. There's so much regular day-to-day operations that does not mean run and gun. You can learn a skill. It can be valuable to learning discipline and your future career anywhere in the world. So ending my soapbox. Oh, go ahead, Marnie.
Can I stand on your soapbox for a minute there? Because I just want to emphasize, in terms of my experience as a middle-class white person, the military was and still is, hands down, the most diverse workforce I have ever worked with. And it does an amazing job of DEI. It does and I say this as a person who worked discrimination complaints for the Air Force. Okay, so it's not to say that life is always peachy and rosy. It is not. But for all of that, its everyday existence is a huge peace builder for our country for the very reasons that the first two people mentioned. It took them out of their community. It took me out of my community, and it put me in Biloxi, Mississippi. It put me at Vandenberg Air Force Base, California, now part of Space Force, with people from all over the country that I was forced to see things through a different perspective and have conversations. No other institution in our country does that to scale the way the military does. And I think we benefit as a country unbelievably from having that mixing that we have people do in the military setting, that just, if it were to ever go away, we'd be in big trouble, and we need to find a way to do it better to scale in other areas, maybe not necessarily the military, but some kind of volunteer service. And I'll get off her soapbox now.
Thank you. I think it's a great point, right? All right, Amanda, back to you. Thank you again, everybody.
All right, thank you, everyone. So I just opened up the breakout rooms. The link to the Excel document where the questions will be stored are in the chat, and we will see you back here in about 12 minutes.
Welcome back, everybody. We definitely would like to do some highlights from your room. So if our moderators would share, one key insight they'd like to share out. Let's start with Tony. Anything exciting happening in your breakout room?
I had a great group. We spent a lot of time conversing, not necessarily on topic, but it was great information. And I think Pete kind of nailed it when he said that the military, STEM is in every part of the military, and that, it's a good idea that we continue to promote that and share that information with students and teachers and with the community. So a lot of great information about service in our discussion.
Excellent. Thank you for moderating the breakout room too. I think Carrie was a moderator for the second room.
Yes, basically we just reiterated what we heard, how much STEM careers, STEM exposing students to STEM is important to see opportunities they can maybe pursue later in life, whether in the military or after the military or out of the military. So,
yeah, one of the things we didn't really highlight is the logistical support and all things contractor here in Arizona that support building of the machines and the equipment and even the installations, right? Barry Goldwater Range is huge. Marine Station down in Yuma, huge. So of course F-35s, and I don't know, did they build any boats here, Chaz? I know Argo did. Too funny. All right, let's head over to our last room. What about Claire? Any highlights?
Yeah, we had an interesting discussion sort of about technology in the military, and talking about how in a lot of instances, the military is just light years ahead of where civilians are in terms of certain technologies, but also that now there are some much larger, wealthier companies that are able to do research that might not necessarily lead to something that can kind of provide new opportunities that maybe the military wouldn't be able to pursue because, it's sort of a, maybe this will work kind of a project. So we talked a little about that balance and kind of where things are going in the future.
That's awesome. Well, again, on behalf of our whole team, the 3 vets on our team, myself, Jake Lounsbury was also in the Army, and Fritz Smith also currently still in. I want to say again, thank you to all of my fellow veterans. I hope that you feel celebrated, and I honor your commitment and service, but we also wanted to say thank you everybody else for participating in this conversation and even hearing our stories. If you do have a chance to engage with a veteran, sometimes that's all we need to know that our sacrifice of signing up and wearing the uniform was worth it. So if you find yourself in an opportunity where you see a gentleman, a young looking guy like Pete out with his hat on, sometimes thank you for your service is all that's necessary. But if you're interested in saying, hey, tell me what that means, and spending a couple minutes, it really does impact the life of a veteran on a daily basis. So any final thoughts, Jeremy, before we close today's call?
No, just really appreciative that we have veterans working in our team. I think it's really made us a stronger organization because of it. And I think I love that we have these type of conversations because of your work to really help highlight that. So thank you, Kelly. Thank you to our Jake and Fritz. And thank you, of course, to everybody been on the call to really make this conversation what it is. We appreciate that.